See how that works? Make some more shifts. And that'll be very much part of the teacher's part of that process. If they're not ready, we're not ready, you know, I'd still teach it, ultimately that's still adult-centric to get to a very student-centric. And I will tell you, the student focus group of Westside High School, this is a building of 2,000 plus kids. The amount of relationships these kids could speak to was amazing. I was just blown away by that. In a giant school, a high school, they're able to make them feel like a very small community based on, because they're such meeting their individual needs. One example I gave, and Erin was right there, we had an English teacher who had a schedule, and her callback, I'm just making this up, was right here. Well, we're looking at her schedule, and she had like John. That's just it, John. What is that? That's a kid I had 3 years ago. Well, what's going on there? When I had him in class, we really worked on organization and stress and anxiety, and you know what? What he found out was, I need that support myself. So what did he do? He walked over to the teacher's schedule, and he scheduled himself every week with this teacher. She didn't even have him in class anymore. But that's one example of dozens of kids that we've experienced that have that kind of relationship with their teachers. Why? Because it's completely individualized. The other part of this, and I'm going to throw this out, the freshman is not willy-nilly. It's a gradual release. Okay, freshman would be much more structured than a senior level experience. However, at the freshman level, and really kind of throughout it, they have built-in counseling times for small groups, for key issues. You know what? I'm going to let you go to that counseling group because right now you're in my biology class, but I'm going to pick that up Thursday morning. That's more important for you. Why don't you go ahead and go?
So we would just say you have to attend one large group this week and 2 small group.
Or,
And then they would say, okay, I'm going to do this large group with this teacher and these 2 small groups with this teacher and this teacher.
could be that, or the conversation could go, do you need to attend the session? And the child says, no, here's my evidence, here's my proof. And maybe they don't make it up, or maybe they come in one of these reading sessions, just one-on-one to say, hey, I know I left 15 minutes early, what did I need? They may not be required to go there, but they certainly could be. And that's part of that flexibility of, you know, what do we do? I don't want to go back to what George said. We have a resident expert in scheduling on this staff, and that's Sherry. Because when I look at this, even as long as I've researched this, I couldn't have built this. For an example, Westside High School, using a program, a DOS program from the 60s to create these things. They're currently working with the university to expand on their ability to schedule. So when we're talking about these schedules, I think any scheduling question really needs to go right to Sherry, and she's going to probably be able to, if not have an immediate answer, a quick answer after she thinks through some things. Because just like in any schedule, there's some dominoes that fall, but within this sort of sandwiched environment in the midst of the traditional, fewer dominoes fall, I think. And so we're able to be a little bit more flexible with that.
Well, one of the things I was wondering, since we're doing customized learning, is the customer, how much input do they have? I mean, like, is the program then, I think I need this, and they make the suggestions of what they need for the week, and then that's like stamped by the teacher that says, you know, this is what they need. Is that type of thing, are you capable of doing that type of thing? You know what I mean? I
I
can see
think
that
the answer
being
is yes.
sort of where we're heading, because it's not the teacher necessarily making the schedule, it's the teacher seeing that the schedule works for the student. And I don't think
I would say the answer to that would be yes, as long as they, and I think this will be,
I got it.
if we go to that, go to the next one, wherever number 4 is. on the-
That's what I wanted to
That's what,
address.
yeah.
And that is, I mean, we very well, once the teacher group is identified, number 4 is going to be our main focus. Because there is a different way to structure and maintain the validity of our curriculum. There's a way to structure school in this model that provides teacher and student choice, plus meets our standards and expectations of graduation, and prepares students for the almighty EOC and standardized test. We can make that happen. but it doesn't look the same as what we're doing right here and right now.
Westside High School student, they'd tell you, you know what, I'm gonna need a little more extra help in this, so I went ahead and scheduled myself there. I mean, you heard that conversation all over the place.
Well,
Hey, I need a little extra help with this.
and on
I wanna go work in the robotics lab, because I'm good on everything, but I really wanna work on that robotics lab because I got a competition coming up, so I'm gonna go there.
On the other end of that too, the teachers also said, you know, you can't let your ego get in the way if a student learns better the material from somebody else.
And
You
they-
just gotta let them
They would essentially choose their teacher, right?
Maybe
for
during
the
the green
one-on-one,
time.
yeah, for their one-on-one time. They might not go to you, they might go to another English teacher because they just connect better with the way they teach it.
So we could potentially do like blue time co-teaching and then separate the green time for student choice too. That
You
might be an
absolutely
option.
would.
That's cool.
And the other thing that I would say, and then I'm gonna stop talking, because I know some of you need to get going, and
Yeah.
some of you are already leaving. This is what I said to the group yesterday. We've had the fire for a while. Yesterday, we let the fire get into the cornfield. It's spreading. We need to let the information get to people in an appropriate way. And so, you know, if talking with a colleague, if they're not really understanding it, or if they're asking you questions and you're not really sure, please direct them to one of us. The other thing is, members of the community don't know this yet. Our students don't know this yet. And we kind of want to keep it that way for now until we get all of the staff in one of these meetings so we can say, this is what it really looks like. And then we can start pushing it out elsewhere. Because we really don't want calls going to these administrators from the community saying, what in the world is going on? Because again, I'm hoping that most people are enthused and underwhelmed. This is not, I mean, you remember we're talking about 6 to 7 teachers, 120 students-ish.
Would grading be the same?
That is a discussion in that small group with that 6 to 7 teachers.
There's some
How
potential,
we-
absolutely.
I will say this, authentic assessment will look different.
You
It
can
is
see-
not gonna be a lecture, quiz, test environment. The top, the 4.0, the mastery is gonna use action verbs like create, demonstrate, examine, synthesize.
Look at
it is
those
not-
powerful
it's-
words,
yeah.
you're familiar with that. I
It
mean,
might, yes, exactly. So that's one thing. We're just gonna have to be willing to grow together.
that's-
There are additional videos on here when this gets pushed out.
Some good ones.
To the, Aaron.
Yes, and we have a sheet to send you with if you need it. And I don't know, is that it?
That's
Oh,
it.
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have more of these. If you have more questions, we're gonna obviously engage anybody that wants to,
And please do
Okay.
encourage colleagues to come to
To these.
to these,
Get two
because
more.
Dana Smith and I were talking and she said, yeah, you can look at the video or the PowerPoint or whatever, but you really don't get the explanation as well, or some of the questions and that kind of thing, so.
Thank you. Sorry about spreading that.
Let's see, this school, I don't know